Mississippi House of Representatives now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer by the gentleman from Jones and remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Good evening, afternoon. Join me as we pray. Dear Lord, we come to you this afternoon with grateful hearts and contentment that we're here doing your work, and we just ask with your wisdom and your guidance and your energy that we will continue to do your work and make this state a better place to live. We just ask with the ones that are hurting, the ones that are in the hospital that need comfort, we just ask that you be with each one of them and give them the guidance that they need to make the right decisions. Dear Lord, just be with us and guide us in all that we do. In Christ's name, amen. Join me as we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Good job. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. The gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report of Select Committee.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of Standing Committee.
We have reports on the counter, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. The gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolution, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll have introductions of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Dent. Passes. Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, in the North Gallery, we have a good friend of mine, a constituent of Representative Chris Bell, Miss Stephanie Pitt, who is the author of Champions Win in the End. Please help her feel welcome. Make her feel welcome.
Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that the ladies and gentlemen of the House help me make welcome one of my distinguished colleagues from the great city of Cleveland, Mississippi, Mr. Elwood Hill.
Any other introductions? I don't see any. A lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce a doctor of the day, Dr. Lori Marshall from St. Dominic. Her specialty is anesthesiology and interventional medicine. And also with her is Stacy Mitchell, second-year student at William Carey. Please make them feel welcome.
All right, this time I'm going to introduce our head page, Benjamin Adams. Ask him to come forward. Ask the pages to stand and be introduced. I ask the pages to stand. There you go. And be introduced.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week we have 26 pages. Starting off, we have Madeline Everett from D'Iberville. We have Taryn Boyd from Antatchee. Mary Ella Brooks from Bentonia. Brandon Cole from Corinth. Jaden Collier from Preston. We have Taylor Domino from Jackson, Rebecca Formby from Picayune, Brianna Haynes from Georgetown, Chloe Hillier from Louisville, Bailey Holly from Winona, Josie Johnson from Decatur, Autumn Lishman from Kilmichael, Swayze Marquette from Vaden, Kaylee McBride from Duran, Landon McConnell from Decatur, Kiervan McCory from Carleton, Leighton Norwell from Louisville, Neely Norwell from Louisville. We have Marshall Landon Reeves from Brandon, Mary Everett Robinson from Brandon. We have Harper Scott from Madison. We have Asher Shanks from Brandon, Caroline Shapley from Hattiesburg, Kendall Stewart from Jackson, Ivy Wallace from Clinton, and finally Jaden Wilson from Crystal Springs. Thank you.
All right, we will now go to the calendar, concurrence, non-concurrence calendar. Any chairman have an item? Jim from Tishomingo, Chairman of Military Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On item number 1, concurrence or non-concurrence, House Bill 1034, we would like to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. Any questions? Hearing none, if you favor the motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Any other item on concurrence, non-concurrence calendar? All right, I don't see any. We'll move to motion to reconsider calendar. Any chairman have an item there? Jim from Neshoba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 2, Senate Bill 2512, and ask that we consider for purposes of an amendment.
Motion is to reconsider the vote by which 2512 passed. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The bill is back before the House for purposes of an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll explain the amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, all we're doing here, the bill had a reverse repealer in it. Senate sent it over here with a reverse repealer. We're just simply putting a effective date on it of June 30th, 2023, and they've asked if we do that, we'll send it back and they'll concur with it, and that's all we're doing.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Anything further on the bill? I don't see any questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2512. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 112 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
I'd like to go to item number 3, Senate Bill 2433, and move to table.
Motion is to table. Those opposed have 5 minutes. Any opposed? I don't see any. If you favor the motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Any other item on the motion to reconsider calendar? Okay, I don't see any. Rules. Chairman of Rules said he wanted to call a meeting. Where is he? All right, he'll be back, I guess. Appropriations calendar. Okay, passes. Laid on the table calendar. All right, brings us to the general calendar. Does any chairman have an item on the general calendar they wish to take up? Chairman of Public Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 1, Senate Bill number 2575, called up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended, bill considered and gross read the 3rd time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And we do have a strike all, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. You're
And I'd like
recognized
you
to explain the
recognize
strike off.
Gentlelady from Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2575 is a bill that was requested by the State Department of Health, which is very similar to the bill that we did for mental health last year, where if the patient has health insurance, that they are just able to bill health insurance for any procedures that is billable. And that's my explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Move final passage.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2575. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 112 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Next item.
Speaker. I'd like to pass on number 2. I'd like
All
to go to item number 3, Senate Bill 2781, called up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, before I ask you to recognize the lady from Lowndes, I do have a amendment. It is simply a reverse repealer amendment. I tried to make this legislation better, and it needs a little bit more work. So the amendment is simply a reverse repealer.
All right. Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Yes, sir. Just please recognize the lady from Lowndes.
Lady from Lowndes is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is Senate Bill number 2781. This was brought to us by the Senate as a result of their hearings that they had post-Roe regarding mothers, children, and family. And what this does, it provides for a program developed by the Department of Health, Department of Human Services, Department of Child Protection Services, and the Division of Medicaid. And what this will do is these agencies will jointly develop a program and then provide resources and information to Mississippi citizens regarding any kind of services or information for moms and babies. And it also includes nonprofit organizations, including religious institutions, would be on this joint clearinghouse, this website that would provide this information. That's a brief explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a strike-all. If you favor the strike-all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2781. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 111 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 4, Senate Bill 2797, called up, make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will you please recognize the lady from Forest?
Lady from Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill deals with the medical records from the patients from the Mississippi State Asylum, which was located on the campus where the University of Mississippi Medical Center currently is, from 1855 to 1935. And the bill seeks to do 3 things. First, it seeks to move the patient records that were at the Mississippi State Asylum, which were moved to the state hospital at Whitfield when it closed in 1935. These records were moved to Whitfield in 1935. It seeks to move these medical records back to the campus at UMMC to the Roland Medical Library. It also seeks to exempt from state law the confidentiality. So patient records in the state of Mississippi say that they are protected, period, which means, or it is interpreted to mean forever. So just only for the patients that were at this Mississippi State Asylum from 1855 to 1935, it seeks for it to come out from under that state law, but to apply HIPAA laws, which are the federal privacy laws, as you know. And those laws say that they may be unsealed after 50 years after the death of the patient. So that is what it seeks to do, so that the research project that is going on trying to determine what these patients were doing there, how they were being treated, it will not reveal any names or anything such as that, just a research project as to understand what was going on at the asylum during those years. And then the last thing is it provides a pathway for the descendant families to gain information on their great-grandmother, great-grandfather, whoever it may be. And that is my explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? Jump from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Later, just a friendly question, please. Now, you did say this is on for the asylum, which is located up there by the OBA Hospital, University Hospital, St. Dominic. Okay.
Correct.
I know the location. Would you agree with me that sometimes you may feel in this chamber this is an asylum? Thank you.
Some days, yes, sir.
Jim from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Later is yield, please.
Yes, sir.
I would like to know why would this research be done from the Department of History and Archives or something like that other than say the legislature?
So it is led by a team of partners, but is led by the University of Mississippi Medical Center, along with partners from Department of Archives and History, some universities, there are archaeologists involved. You may remember that in 2012, there was a construction project going on that site, and they found they found human remains. And so at that time, they stopped the construction project, and right now they are painstakingly going through and exhuming the remains of these individuals to provide them with a more proper and respectful burial. And so that is ongoing. But another piece of the research project is also to determine why they were there in the first place and what kind of procedures or treatment was going on.
What role is the legislature playing in this process?
So the legislature simply has to do these three things: to authorize the movement of the medical records from the state hospital at Whitfield back to the library, the medical library at University Medical Center. And then the other thing is to come out from under the state's medical privacy laws just for these patients and abide only through the HIPAA privacy laws, which are 50 years after death.
Yes. Thank you.
Final passage, Mr. Speaker.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2797. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman from Tibbetts Hall, Mr. Robertson, you want to call a rules meeting?
Yes, sir. I'd like to call a rules meeting right now.
Rules meeting in the rules room right now, please. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like for item number 5, Senate Bill 2369, to retain its place with unanimous consent.
Okay, any objection?
And then, thank you. And then, Mr. Speaker, with unanimous consent, if I could go to 2 more, item number 48, Senate Bill 2750. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Item 48, 2750. Any objection to advancing on the calendar for that bill? Hearing none, we will do that. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will you please recognize the gentleman from Warren?
Gentleman from Warren.
Mr. Speaker, we have an amendment.
You okay? You recognized for an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All the amendment does is take out the reverse repealer.
Okay. Any question? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Yes, sir. All this bill does is allow the state to purchase defibrillators for public and charter schools.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2750. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With unanimous consent, if I could go to item number 49, Senate Bill 2373.
Any objection? Hearing none, we'll
Thank you,
do
Mr.
that. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will you please recognize the gentleman from Jones?
Gentleman from Jones is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2373 is a skilled nursing and hospital nurses retention loan program. It's a skilled nursing and hospital retention loan program After a nursing student graduates from nursing school and goes to work with the Mississippi Hospital, then it will allow them to request up to $6,000 per year for loan repayment for 3 years. And so it's a total of $18,000, and just simply to try to retain and hold on to some of the nurses that graduate and keep in the state of Mississippi. That's a summary of my bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. If you open the machine, Madam Clerk, question occurs on Senate Bill 2373. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 108 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Public health yields. Ladies and gentlemen, we have privilege and opportunity to recognize a special guest at this time. So I'm going to recognize a gentleman from Bolivar. He was just in here. Where did he go? Here he comes. Recognize a gentleman from Bolivar to introduce and recognize our special guest. Would ask you give him your attention, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, thank you for your due diligence. And I'll ask the gentleman from Washington and Tallahatchie to come up to the podium with me. Can't hear me. Who that said that? Oh, I'm sorry. You too, Mr. Baker. Come on with me. There you go. I'll probably not right. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Resolution 68 is acknowledging the young lady who's did her due diligence throughout the state of Mississippi. And she's done a lot of, when I say magnificent things, I mean magnificent things. Dr. Pam Chapman is a servant leader who's been destined for greatness. Since assuming the mantle of public service through civic and engagement, she's made evidence her zealous advocacy for serving all mankind. And I do say all mankind. Vanity Hamer, who she shares the same birthday with. And whereas she has tapped into the Mississippi Bar Association and been the recipient of the Harriet Tubman Award for her courageous leadership. She's created suitable opportunities for families in the state of Mississippi. I've had an opportunity to witness that because she's done a magnificent work there in Bolivar and Sunflower counties, those counties that surround us. She has received the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Service Award from the men of Alpha Phi Alpha, and was recently awarded on the national level for the Humanitarian Women Award during the meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona. She's also been known for her professionalism and attributes in business. Dr. Chapman was recognized as one of Mississippi's most influential women in business for having assisted more than 4,000, and I said 4,000 low-income families, Mississippi Delta and North Mississippi. Through her organization, Boss Lady Economic Planning Development Workforce Transportation has done a magnificent job. Whereas with a mission in aiming and aiding in those in need, from fallen victims to eviction, keeping their utilities on due to hardships experienced the pandemic through the Mississippi Home Corporation rental system for Mississippi's programs, RAMP. Champion, partnering with USDA to help families through rural development with home improvement, for better housing opportunities, working with Save the Children, assisting more than 3,000 families by providing healthy nutritional produce for children and families throughout the holidays. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, if you will, help me make welcome Dr. Pam Chapman.
All right, we will return now to the general calendar. Does any chairman have an item they wish to take up? Gentleman from Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues of the House, I'd like to go to item number 28, Senate Bill 2224. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Please recognize the Vice Chairman of the committee to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Warren's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have an amendment.
You recognize for your amendment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. We need to table the committee amendment. Strike all.
Table the strike all. Want to table the strike all. Motion is to table the strike all. Any opposed? If you favor the motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Strike all has been tabled. Got another amendment?
That's the amendment.
Okay, you're recognized for your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment is a compromise that we came up with the Department of Insurance. We're taking out Section 1 of the bill, Section 2 of the bill. We're putting a 4-year repealer on, and then just some cleanup language in 3. That's my explanation of the amendment.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
That's it, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2224. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 109 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up that next item, Senate Bill 2227, and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. This is the exact same language that was contained in House Bill 1172 dealing with the Federal Home Loan Bank. It just ensures that the federal entity, the Federal Home Loan Bank, can retrieve that collateral in a timely manner if any of its members file for bankruptcy or have any issues with payment. That's my explanation.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2227. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 113 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Next item, Mr. Speaker, is number 30, Senate Bill 2228. I'd like to call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Please recognize the lady from Madison to handle the bill.
Lady from Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2228 is the same bill that we passed in the House recently. The purpose of this bill is to establish legal framework using the model legislation from the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness. Passed. All right, I don't see any questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2228. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 103 yeas and 9 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The next item is item number 31, Senate Bill 2615. I'd like to call it up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Please recognize the Vice Chairman to handle this bill also.
Gentleman from Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, all this bill does is allow us to offer the state health plan to contract workers, W-2 workers, so that we can get out of the penalty that we're paying in penalty A, which is costing the state $40 million up to this point. That's my explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Question? Are you explaining the strike all, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was the strike all. You yield for a question?
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Gentlemen, you're talking real fast, and you told us that we're in some jeopardy or some trouble of paying out $40 million, and we're trying to fix that now.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
take your time and explain that to us again, because you went through that real fast. I didn't get where we had obligated ourselves in any kind of way to pay $40 million. Could you explain that again for me, please?
Yes, sir. So basically, in the Affordable Care Act, if we control a W-2 contract employee and we do not offer them health insurance, then, based off the Affordable Care Act, if we have a W-2 employee that we control, then if we do not offer them health insurance, then we get a penalty A. And we have been accruing that over the last couple of years. So up until this point, our fine has equaled $40 million for it. So moving forward, if we offer these employees health insurance and we get out of penalty A and move over to the possibility of penalty B, and there's several ways to get out of that as well, which we will start working through that process. One of the examples is not let them get over 30 hours. So we'll start doing that as well. And then there's some other things that we can do to get out of penalty B, but you get out of penalty A, which is the most expensive part, just by offering them health insurance. So we will offer those people that do qualify for that the state health plan. We also gave the state health plan the authority to go in there with the board, the authority to create a payment for those people in case that we run into a situation of adverse selection. So if you have 400 people that qualify for it and most of them don't want it, but only 10 take it out, you have a high likelihood that those 10 will end up costing a lot more money than me and you would at $430 to the state. So we're going to give the board the ability, if they need to in the future, of maybe creating a different rate so that those people that do take out that plan can actually pay for it themselves. So it's not a burden on the taxpayer. So I'm sorry for doing that. Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
How much do you anticipate, does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
What is the state's portion of this going to be? Do you have a cost estimate?
So the state portion, they would pay for what they take. We would have to put forward the plan, right? So the
there's
question,
not an employer contribution amount or anything?
that is correct.
Okay.
Now, the real cost could be in the adverse selection part if they end up costing more than what they're paying into the system. That's why we gave that little bit at the end.
Got you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Jim from Madison, Mr. Black.
Jimmy Hill?
No, sir. I'm just kidding.
Well, we'll talk anyway. Over what period of time have we been paying a fine, or have we paid the fine?
I don't know the answer if we paid it or not. I do know that it's occurred up to that dollar. I'm sorry. It has occurred up to that dollar amount. We're still in the past, so it will be higher than $40 million.
If this does not pass, will we likely to continue to be fined for our lack of participation?
Yes, sir. So because there's not a good answer for getting out of penalty A.
What would be the remedy if this does not pass? What would be the remedy for Mississippi avoiding that penalty?
So right now, one of the things that each department has done is they've gone out and contracted with certain carriers to offer a plan that does meet the minimum standard, but it's nowhere near as rich as the state health plan. So basically, the people that are purchasing it, it doesn't really do anything. Like I could sell one of those plans at my agency, and I won't sell it because it doesn't really give them anything. So there's a way of getting out that they're doing it, but even the ones that are doing it, I would prefer them be able to have a real option to it.
Are any other states being penalized similar to what we are experiencing?
I don't want to be 100% on it, but I do believe so. Yes, sir.
Are they all red states?
I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Thank
you.
Yes, sir.
Lady from Lincoln, Ms. Curry. Passes. Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
So if we accepted the Affordable Care Act, we would not have to pay this penalty. Is that correct?
No, sir, because one of the things that the departments are doing is that they're offering these W-2 people without having to contribute to PERS or to the state health plan. So it makes their check higher. What they were saying to us is some of the millennials don't want it.
So if we had the Affordable Care Act, these people would be covered under that act because they wouldn't have to have these minimum qualifications. They would be covered under the act because insurance would be available to them. Isn't that correct?
I don't know if that would get us out of it, because if they didn't take it out, we would still be subject to it.
But you would be able to provide insurance for these employees, wouldn't you? I mean, that was the whole point in the fine, is because the Affordable Care Act afforded you an opportunity for a lesser rate in a situation like this to be able to provide coverage.
Yes,
and so the penalty is that if you don't take the money, you still have to provide coverage. And we're not providing that coverage. As a result, we incur a $40 million penalty.
Yes, sir. I would say the answer to that is no. And the reason why is because we don't provide it, we're offering it. We're getting penalized because we do not have an offering that's in that penalty A that gets us out, besides the one that we're doing through the contract that is not as high quality as the state health plan. So we're offering the state health plan as an option to get us completely out of A across all departments, which could take us to B. And there's a lot of ways that we don't. But these are contract employees that want to behave like that.
Well, did I hear you say in the beginning that
if I may follow up one thing, please?
Sure,
sir.
go ahead.
It's just that we're not providing it. It's contract employees, so it doesn't have to be an option in the
I understand.
Yes, sir.
Well, what did you mention earlier about because we didn't accept the Affordable Care Act, we're incurring this penalty because we're not providing the coverage?
No, sir. If I was not clear, I apologize.
Okay.
It's because of the Affordable Care Act is where the regulations came from that resulted in the fine in the first place.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Right, I don't see any further questions. If you favor the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2616. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 88 yeas, 17 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That next item is item number 32, Senate Bill 2623, and I would like for you to recognize the gentleman. Well, I'd like to call up and make the usual motion. I'm sorry.
Gentleman calls the bill up. Moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Please recognize the gentleman from DeSoto to handle the bill.
Gentleman from DeSoto.
All right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, what Senate Bill 2623 does is set forth a task force to take a look at our rates and why they continue to go up. Those of you that are in this chamber that are on the state health plan, you know every year the rates just keep going up and up. What this does is just lay forth the procedure for putting together a task force on lines 17 through 37. It talks about what they will take a look at. Lines 38 through 69. It talks about how members will be selected for the task force. And then the remainder of the bill basically just lays out how the findings will be reported and that the task force will dissolve on November 1st of 2023. And that is an explanation of the bill.
Questions, gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Gentlemen, while we just doing a task force to study the life and health, the worst thing we have is this health insurance that the state of Mississippi is providing. I'm telling you, we got the absolute worst insurance plan that I have ever heard. It conspires for you to die, and it conspires against you. Don't want to fill your prescriptions, don't want to give you certain services. Now, why are we studying some life insurance when the health insurance is helping us die early?
Gentlemen, it's for both. It's studying the health and life plan, and I agree with you. It is. If you're on the plan, I know my family is.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see the health part up there. Apologize.
We're going to look at why it's that way and find out why the rates keep going up.
You can see I was upset. I didn't see the health part.
I appreciate your passion.
Yeah, apologize to y'all.
All right, I don't see any further. There is one. Gentleman Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
While I understand this is a task force to study the options that we may have concerning our benefit package, but wouldn't it be just as easy for us to shop around and get the best carrier to do business with? Because I have to agree with the gentleman from Washington that this Blue Cross Blue Shield plan is got a lot to be desired. Couldn't we just shop around through our insurance committee to find out the best plans for us and for the state employees?
Well, gentlemen, we do that every year with an RFP. As you know, we're a self-funded plan managed by Blue Cross, I believe, right? And Blue Cross controls 90% of the business in our state. So we want to take a look at why the rates keep going up and why we're having problems with the health insurance. I know me personally, I'm on the plan and I spend almost $900 a month, my portion. And so for our teachers and the rest of the state employees that are on this plan, that's a pretty sizable amount. So we want to look at why it keeps going up and what we can do to hopefully address that.
Well, I'm speaking about the task force. Don't we have an insurance committee in the state that looks at such?
Well, they've obviously not been doing it, which is why we want to have a task force so that we can have some oversight on it and try and come up with.
Do we have an insurance committee in the state of Mississippi? Don't we have an insurance committee that review? I'm not on the committee. I wish I was.
We have an insurance board, but we also have a House and Senate insurance committee. And so it is the proposal here in this piece of legislation that we would actually take and do a deep dive and try to figure out what some of these problems that
that's what I'm saying, gentlemen. Why wouldn't we look at this ourselves rather than getting a task force from the outside to do it?
We have been for the last 4 years.
You have already had it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2623. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 110 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The next item is 33, Senate Bill 2649. I'd like to call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up. Moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and grows read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Please recognize the Secretary of the Committee, the gentleman from Bolivar.
The gentleman from Bolivar is recognized. Oh, excuse me. He's from Washington, sir.
I'm from all three. Bolivar, Washington, and Sequina County.
Okay, he covers a lot of ground, doesn't he?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2649 is, I really hate to use this term, but a simple bill. What it does is lowers the age requirement to receive benefits from 21 to 18. And this came about because there was some service members who died who were not 21, and their spouses were not 21 either, and they could not receive their death benefits. So what this does is allow, if a person is married and not the age of 21 and they're over 18, they can receive the death benefits of their loved one. That's the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Question? I don't see any. Open
Move
the
final
machine.
passage,
Madam
Mr. Speaker.
Clerk, question occurs on Senate Bill 2649. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk, by vote 116, 17 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Anything further? Insurance yields. Any other chairman have an item they wish to take up today? Rules wish to report? Recognize the Chairman of Rules. I'm going to recognize Madam Clerk, read the report of the committee.
Report of Committee on Rules, SCR number 550, expressing the support of the legislature for the plaintiffs in Harrison County versus United States Army Corps of Engineers.
Chairman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a resolution. SCR 550 is a resolution that's asking us to support the lawsuit that you remember whenever the river and the dams were releasing a lot of water into our coast. This was a lawsuit that we're basically saying that we're supporting to try to help fix and get some things done for our coastal people and to help with our fisheries and the oyster beds and all of that. That's all this does.
Questions? Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, it's hard to hear. Where does what area?
This is the coast. The Mississippi River flows into the coast, and the water that's been going into there, the flooding that was going on, that basically this is there was a lawsuit that was going on, and this is basically supporting whatever things that can make that better for that, because it's really kind of done a number on the oyster beds, the fishing, everything on there. That's all this does.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate concurrent resolutions 550. If you favor the resolution, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk, by vote 110 yeas and 2 nays. The resolution passes.
Ask for immediate release.
Any immediate release? Any objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Is there any other item on the general calendar that any chairman wishes to take up? All right, I don't see any. Jump from Harrison, Mr. McKnight. Would you give me a motion to recess subject to call, please?
Motion to recess subject to call.
All in favor say aye, opposed nay. Ayes have it. House in recess subject to call.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead. I'm going to call a Constitution meeting right now in room 114.
Have an announcement. Judd B will meet at 4:05 in 113.
Please let the House come back to order. We got a couple of committees that are going to meet during the recess here. Lady from Met has an announcement.
A will meet 4:02.
Judiciary A and 402. And the Education Committee, Chairman tells me the Education Committee will meet in 10 minutes in whatever room they meet in. What is that, 204? Okay. Education will meet in 10 minutes in 204. Judiciary A will meet right now in 402. All right. Need to recess subject to call. Gentleman from Lowndes, Mr. Boyd, you're standing up. Can I have a motion, please, sir?
Motion, please, to recess subject to call.
Motion to recess subject to call. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House in recess subject to call.
like, test. Ladies, you got me? Test, test. Got me? Got me? Test, test, test.
Try a different one.
Ladies,
Mine aren't working. Test, test, test.
Okay.
hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on the Public Utilities Committee, we're going to meet right now in room 204. Thanks.
Please let the House come back to order. I think we're at a point now where we have completed our committee meetings, and have done our work for the day. Jim from Jackson, Mr. Busby.
Request, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Request to remove the reverse repealer on line 94 of Senate Bill 2561.
Okay, gentlemen, request unanimous consent to remove a reverse repealer. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
Tomorrow, the Joint House and Senate Gaming Committee will meet at 3 o'clock in room 113 for an update.
Update on what? Gaming update. Very good. Jump Pearl River, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to change my vote on yesterday's Senate Bill 2323 from yay to no.
Any objection? Change your vote.
And I'd also like to hold that bill on a motion to reconsider.
Okay, we'll do that. Jump from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to do an adjourn in memory.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of myself, gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell, and the rest of the Jackson delegation, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Detective Terry Dismute, police officer who's a good friend of ours who died last week.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that. Lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
Speaker, I would like to adjourn in memory of a very good friend of mine's mother, Miss Jane Kelly. My friend is Sam and Kim Kelly. It's his mother, and she passed away in April, and I'd just like to honor her with an adjournment, please.
Thank you. Jim Jackson, Mr. Busby, again.
Announcement, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
The Mississippi Economic Council would like to invite everyone to their legislative scrambler tomorrow morning at 7:30 at the Mississippi Museum of Art. The speaker will be our very own House Education Chair, the Honorable Richard Bennett.
Not a lot of enthusiasm about that. Jim from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like unanimous consent to change my vote on today's calendar, number 31, Senate Bill 2615, from no to yay.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Lamar, Mr. McCarty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to change my vote and both my desk mates' votes on Senate Bill 2323 from yay to nay.
Any objection? Change of vote. Lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like unanimous consent to change my vote on SB 2615 from yes to no.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join in memory of Mr. John Davis, who's a dear friend of mine who just passed this morning.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that. Jim from Harrison, Mr. Bennett.
I'd like to ask consent to change my vote on Senate Bill 2323 to no.
Any objection? Change of vote. Lady from Lincoln, Ms. Curry.
Speaker, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to change my vote to no on Senate Bill 2323.
Any objection? Change of vote. Lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
I, too, would like unanimous consent to change my vote from yes to no on
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Scott, Mr. Miles.
Same request.
Any objection? Change of vote. Lady from Harrison, Ms. Crawford.
You put it on? If there's still room, I'd like to change my vote also from yes to no.
Okay.
2323.
Change the vote. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Darnell.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to change my vote also on Senate Bill 2323 from yes to no.
Any objection? Change of vote. Lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to change my vote from yes to no on 2323.
Any objection? Jim from Wayne, Mr. Barnett.
Same request, Mr. Speaker.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Perry, Mr. Gooden.
Speaker, would like to change the vote for Joseph Tubb on 2323 from yes to no.
Any objection? Jim from Harrison, Mr. McKnight.
Same thing, Mr. Speaker, 2323, change my vote from yes to no.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Clark, Mr. Smith.
Same request, Mr. Speaker, 2323.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Harrison, Mr. Felsher.
Same request, Mr. Speaker, for Mr. Felcher.
Any objection? Change of vote. Jim from Jackson, Mr. Anderson.
Same request, Mr. Speaker.
Any objection? Change of vote. All right, I don't see any further requests. Gentleman from Octibie Hall for the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. in the morning.
Motion is adjourned till 10 a.m. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned till 10 a.m. tomorrow.